So Lexie Hull is back. Yes, she is back with the Indiana Fever. And that is one of the more important things. Well, not even just specifically Lexie Hull's back. The more players there are that are back for the Fever, the better it's going to be.
Head Stephanie White, the coach, was left completely stunned to see Caitlin Clark's most recent workout with Lexie Hull meeting this unanticipated instruction. Intensity has astounded everyone. Organization, particularly for arriving so early. Throughout the off-season, Clark goes on, pushing limits, whereas the majority of players continue to recuperate, and Hull's unexpected dedication has caused significant inquiries regarding roster positions.
I want to be known as just a really good teammate, someone that my teammates trust, that they know that I'll give everything that I have.
The competitive dynamic developing between these two may fully change the Fever's strategy going forward. The video from this exercise shows a suspicion shared by many of us, but hadn't verified as of yet. Hull is defending her basketball career. Let's here be brutally honest. Had she not heated up following the last Olympic break season, she may not have appeared in a WNBA uniform once more after the Olympics. That her career was practically saved by her performance. Now, however, the real labor starts. What's especially noteworthy regarding Hull's comeback is the moment. It's just been 8 minutes, days after the unmatched league concluded. Additionally, whereas athletes like Aaliyah, Boston is making a well-earned comeback, Hull didn't spend any time at all prior to returning to the gym. Her urgency says a lot about her awareness of her position within the hierarchy.
Is that more time these players spend together, the better it is for everybody. And I mean that. The more time they're together, the better it is for every single player on that Indiana.
Hull faces a tough reality, but indisputable. Alongside Sophie Cunningham, her minutes are in now that she's on the roster. Grave danger. At the moment, I would project maybe 5 minutes are allotted to Hull per game, and even that may be considered giving. Cunningham's addition results in direct rivalry for her position, and while they're not identical players, they hold the same geographic location in the cycle. Hull does have one thing. She is the target of defensive capability. She defends the perimeter more effectively than Cunningham, but is that enough to secure significant moments when Cunningham provides additional firepower for attacking action? This is the exact reason why these early exercises are really important. Hull must demonstrate expanded offensive potential if she so chooses. Remain pertinent during the cycle. The intensity of these exercises appears to have fully apprehended Stephanie White. Caught off guard, people related to the team claim that White was taken aback by the degree of chemistry and communication currently taking place between Clark and Hull. There were more than 2 players leisurely getting shots up. This was intentional, focused training with scenarios specific to the game. What's especially intriguing is how Caitlin Clark is still the benchmark for the entire company. As the league stars are taking long pauses, Clark's method is unrelenting. They saw her exercising in New York at the NVPA gym while she was with her boyfriend, Connor. The coaching game of McAfee's Butler. Prior to Taylor and I going to Chiefs game, she was quick enough to fit in a morning exercise session. This is not a work ethic it's borderline impressive. Compelled. Online, there is a comment saying, encapsulates this mindset wonderfully. They certain that Caitlin is destitute and that she resides in the gym. Although amusing, it draws attention to a critical aspect of her approach. This degree of commitment gets infectious in an organization, establishing an implicit norm that other people feel obliged to match. That is precisely what we are witnessing. Alongside Hull, She is well aware of that. For her to survive in the WNBA, she must match the intensity of Clark. The video demonstrates work on catch-and scenarios is being done by Hull, especially created to enhance Clark's ability to pass. This isn't accidental. Hull is aware that the greatest way to get minutes is turning into the ideal supplementary item to the focal point of the team. Brianna Turner was additionally present during this exercise, which enhances an additional element of competition to the dynamic. Turner is fighting for support minutes with center and power forward Dantas Dyrus. Additionally, even though they provide various skill levels, roster positions are restricted. The distinction between 8 minutes every match and a DNP-CD frequently arrives down to these winter exercises and their perceptions of the coaching employees. What has been very noticeable about these sessions is that the majority of the Fever roster has previously been covered in a certain amount of capacity. The return of Sophie Cunningham and exercising. Brianna Turner is in the gym. The arrival of Sydney Coulson in Indiana. In attendance is Dana Bonner, bringing her 17 years of experience. The sole players who don't physically present possess valid explanations. Melissa Smith and Dyrus Dantas are in Turkey playing, and Jalen. Russia is where Brown is. This early unity provides the Fever with a significant edge over groups that won't get together till closer to the training camp. Chemistry is not created overnight, as well as these additional weeks and months of collaboration could convert into a number of more victories in a fierce Eastern Conference. After that, a season. Stephanie White's response to this has all been especially exposing. Following the observation of the Clark, White apparently had to do a Hull workout, totally reevaluate a few of her offensive setups for the upcoming campaign. The sphere, movement, and distance between these two. The chemistry amongst the guys was so natural that White is now looking for methods to maximize this particular two-person activities within the broader group structure. What makes this even more? It's amazing that we're witnessing this degree of commitment from Hull in spite of the events of Unrivaled. Don't sugarcoat it. Hull had trouble, notably with her shooting during that contest. A lot of players would have taken a long break to focus on reset following a performance like that. Rather, Hull is addressing her personally, overcoming difficulties by exerting work on the Fever shooting right away. Coaches. This is the point at which Clark's impact gets even clearer. Even though Clark, the team's undeniable standout, has demonstrated a readiness to put in a lot of work with actors such as Hull. The video displays several scenes in which Clark is actually going over specifics with Hull. Footwork modifications on the cachote. Chances. This goes beyond simply improving on one's own. Clark is aggressively working to make her more productive teammates. This kind of Clark's leadership challenges the argument that she isn't a strong leader. She might not provide inspiring speeches, but her dialogue during these exercises shows a more realistic, hands-on style of leadership. She's displaying not only revealing and supporting everything with her own unparalleled work ethic. What's really striking about Clark's? She's establishing a balance with her approach. These exercises don't seem too extremely demanding in terms of physical effort. They prioritize the development of skills, chemistry, and timing. Clark appears to recognize the importance of sustainability, particularly for someone with her minutes, rate of utilization, and load. She isn't running. Under October, she buried herself under the dirt. She continues to be conditioned while concentrating on particular technical enhancements. The basketball intelligence demonstrated in these sessions has reportedly been what Stephanie White was most shocked. According to some others, White was especially amazed at how fast Hull and Clark possess the ability to communicate non-verbally. On screens and cuts, there is video footage of a scene in which Hull places a screen, slips it, and is given a pass without looking. From Clark, the kind of chemistry that usually takes several months to develop. Two players aren't the only ones receiving shots. This is intentional effort to construct a useful two-player game that can be used in particular gaming scenarios. Upcoming season. It appears that Hull has acknowledged that her route to minutes rely on developing into a trustworthy release, especially when Clark is overcommit by defenses. We're also witnessing unmistakable proof that the culture of the Fever is changing in the right direction. The previous season was a mixed bag. Amazing performances, but the team is unreliable. Achievement. These first exercises point to a more unified strategy is emerging with players assuming responsibility for their development instead of holding out for coach-mandated sessions. White, Stephanie, reportedly told employees that she has never witnessed this degree of player-driven intensity ever since she began coaching the teams with a championship hunger and Tama catches. That's an incredible compliment and implies the foundation being constructed might be more important than many observers are aware. This is striking. In contrast to several other organizations, where programs throughout the off-season are more loosely organized, the degree of the Fever's dedication is evident. Roster implies a comprehension that windows of opportunity for professionals. Sports come and go, with Clark coming out as a skill that spans generations and the roster, accepting her surroundings gradually. There's acknowledgement that the moment to capitalize is not later but now. Regarding Hull, in particular, these exercises are a strive for relevancy. The grim truth is that rosters in professional sports change and responsibilities become less important. Hull is fighting not only for a few minutes but for the chance to continue participating in the league. Her desperation is evident. Intensity throughout these sessions. The technical features of their require consideration as well. Hull has distinctly noted particular flaws in her strategy, especially her defensive and consistent shooting, footwork, and is dealing with them straight. The video displays several defense exercises in which Hull is employed against male athletes in order to get better. Her speed on the side. This, being conscious of one's own shortcomings, is something that not all sportsmen in the professional league own. Many people would rather lean into current strengths instead of facing restrictions. Hull's readiness to confront her shortcomings head-on suggests a level of maturity that could help her career grow if she is able to convert these exercises into performance in the game. The competitive dynamic that is emerging between Hull and it will be interesting to observe Cunningham as their comrades strive for combined achievement. They're also fighting for almost the same amount of time. How they deal with this conflict while keeping the team cohesive will be a important side story for the Fever after season. What's especially important concerning Clark's strategy is that she's not only honing her personal abilities, she is actively establishing a rapport with co-workers in various positions, groups. She can be seen jogging on video. Brianna's pick-and-roll sequences. Turner, working with Hull to create timing on efforts off the field, and even working on high. The posts are low entrance passes. This thorough approach shows a advanced comprehension of what propels the success of the squad. Individual, regular season games can be won by brilliance. However, winning teams need to be unified. Units in which players have a close, recognize one another's inclinations and preferences. Stephanie, White is shocked. Response appears to be partially due to the degree of specificity in these exercises. According to some others, White was especially pleased with Clark's ability to communicate, while doing particular actions highlighting defensive shifts, indicating counters, as well as actively coaching colleagues across scenes. This degree, basketball intelligence, is uncommon for players at such a young age. 4. The synergy she's creating, Hull. Clark could actually save her profession. The WNBA roster, as it actually is, construction implies that gamers who are able to efficiently complement stars have enormous worth, despite having little personal output. If Hull is able to establish herself as a person who enhances Clark's efficiency when her roster place and the court are shared, gets considerably safer. The moment of these exercises are very important in relation to the WNBA as a whole. As the popularity of the league soars and resources accept the benchmark for professional commitment increases. Correspondingly, the time spent caring for as a part-time activity, the WNBA is quickly vanishing with year-round dedication, turning into the norm rather than the exception. Hull's prompt return to this changing reality is reflected in training. She is aware that playing in the WNBA, a full-time roster place, is now required. Commitment not only throughout the season. This signifies a substantial change in the Women's Basketball League.